Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to hop on here real quick. I'm coming to you from my new office setup. My furniture just got here yesterday. So, but I did want to take a minute and say thank you to you all for being so kind and all the wonderful comments you've left when I did the community post about my brother's passing. A lot of you have been following along with this journey this last year as he struggled with brain cancer. And though he did really well all year, he really did really well. Way better than they thought he would. They couldn't believe he was still alive. They really didn't think he'd last more than 6 months. And then it got to be almost a year. And just to let you know what happened, he was great. He was functional, could walk, talk, was his normal self, basically. Up until March. In March, he had a new scan. The previous scan, he got a scan every couple months. The previous scan had showed the cancer was stable. It hadn't really advanced any. It hadn't gone backwards a lot either, but it was just stable, which was a very good thing because he could really enjoy things, talk to people, all that good stuff. And then in March the 20th of 2023, this year, he went in and had his next scan. On the 23rd, he got the results of that scan. The cancer had more than doubled in size and it sent out tendrils all over his brain, and there was just nothing they could do. Not that there was ever really anything they could do with this type of cancer. It's just aggressive and it's always terminal. But at that stage, they told him it would be weeks. And you know, we've always known there was an end date, but when someone tells you weeks, it becomes just so overwhelming. And it was for all of us. And they couldn't really tell us what that meant. Did that mean 2 weeks? Did it mean 8 weeks? What did that mean? They couldn't say. So we had to kind of go forward with the idea that after the 23rd of March, it would be weeks. One of the things that he really wanted to do was to stay around for his daughter's graduation. His daughter's a senior this year. And at that point, we realized that probably wouldn't happen. And even if he was still alive at that time at the end of May, he probably couldn't attend. Her school is a very small Christian high school, private school here in Amarillo. It's called Ascension Academy. They held a very tiny little private graduation just for us, just for the family. And that was really sweet. They did that on April the 6th. So less than 2 weeks after this diagnosis, they pulled that together, and it was so wonderful. At this school, you know how a lot of schools will have a commitment day or a signing day for athletes that are going to a college or getting a scholarship to a college to play sports. Well, this school does that for every kid that is going to either college or trade school. If they're continuing their education in some way, they have a little commitment ceremony or signing ceremony, whatever you want to call it. And I've got some photographs of that. They did the little signing ceremony prior to graduation. And then we all got to see her graduate by herself. She'll still walk with her class at the end of May, but this was just for us. And that was so sweet. And at that graduation, my brother, even though he was using a cane, and here again, here are some pictures, he was still his normal self. He's walking, talking, he's chatting with everyone, her teachers, the administrators, and it was a wonderful, good time for the family to all be together. And that was right before Easter. This was April the 6th, and Easter was that weekend. So the next weekend, I got to sit down and have a little one-on-one chat with him. We tried to record it, but the sound didn't work, and so you know how it is. So, but we got to have, he and I got to have a one-on-one chat. And that was a great conversation. I didn't realize at the time it would be our last conversation. But it was. And of course, he was at home on hospice. After that conversation, that day actually, Sunday, he took a little turn for the worse and started really declining. He couldn't walk anymore. They brought in a hospital bed. I can't remember if that was the end of Monday or the beginning of Tuesday. He was fully in a hospital bed. By Wednesday, he didn't know who was coming on or going. And by Friday, he was gone. That was it. It was that fast. And that's what he wanted. When we had our conversation, that's something that he said, that when he got to the point that he wasn't functional, that he hoped it was fast for his family's sake. And it was. It was. It was peaceful. It was calm. It was as good an outcome as that kind of outcome can ever be, which is always terrible. But I wanted you all to know what happened. And I really debated putting up the community post that even said he had died. Because, there's always some trolls out there that are going to say, oh, this isn't real. You're just doing this for likes or shares or blah, blah, blah. And I just didn't want to deal with it, honestly. I just didn't want to deal with it. But there are some people who watch this channel who know me in real life. And so they posted a few things that they were sorry about his passing. And so I felt like, okay, I need to let everyone know. So I went ahead and put that up. And I will tell you, I just want to thank you all so much for the kind words, all the comments. And a lot of my family has gotten on there and read those comments too. They have all been read. I've read every one of them several times, actually. No one was mean. No one was awful. So thank you for that. That's been really fabulous, that part of it. And I definitely wanted to thank you all for that, because that's very much appreciated. Y'all don't, a lot of y'all don't really know me in person, but it's still wonderful when people can be kind, and I appreciate that. And even when he and I talked our last time, a big part of that discussion was really, you don't expect to mourn your own death. He had a year to mourn his own death. And that reframes everything that you do. Of course it does. That idea of our mortality and what that means. Last year, after his diagnosis, during the summer, he had a big barbecue because he didn't want a funeral and he wanted to attend. Who doesn't, right? He wanted to see people he hadn't seen in years. Well, that was a real coming together of people, a lot of whom he had not seen in 30 years. Family, he hadn't seen in 30 years, or a lot of us hadn't seen in 30 years either. Distant cousins and all those people you were closer to when you're younger, you don't see them a lot of times until the funeral, which is sad. But in this case, they all showed up at his barbecue, at his end-of-life celebration last year, and he was able to reconnect with a lot of those co-workers, people he'd trained. He was a first assistant. That's like a surgical assistant in the operating room. And he had trained over, 25, 30 years. He had trained so many people in that profession, and he'd worked with so many people in the medical field, and a lot of them showed up, and it was wonderful for him to see them. He got to reconnect with a lot of people that we went to high school with. He hadn't seen in years and years. That was also wonderful for him. And so he spent the whole year really enjoying those reconnections. And that was a great time. It was a wonderful thing. Not that this is ever a wonderful thing to happen to anybody. It's not. But he took full advantage of it. He didn't sit in the house and stew. He reconnected with people. He put things out on TikTok and Facebook and tried to encourage people who were going through the same thing. And one of the things we talked about during our discussion was how something like this makes so many of the things that you're working for in your life, that you're focused on in your life, so unimportant. So unimportant. And he talked about that. All the time he spent worrying about, well, how are they going to retire? And what are they going to do about this financial issue? Or, what are they going to do about college for Harley? And where is she going to go? All those concerns are so unimportant in the face of mortality. And so that was just really something that was a revelation to him. It's a revelation to all of us, because so many of the things we focus on, or we get anxiety about, or we worry about, are so unimportant, And one of the questions, that gurus tell you to ask yourselves, is this going to matter in 5 years? And I would say, to ask yourself, if I died tomorrow, is this going to matter? Is this going to matter? And the answer is almost always no. So I think one of the things I learned was just to let that stuff go. Let it go and really embrace today. Don't put off going and doing things you haven't tried before. Don't put off enjoying things. Don't put off reconnecting with people. That's really what it's about. That's why we're here. One of those concerns that he'd had about Harley going to college, they had planned the week he got his diagnosis, that it was only a few weeks, it wasn't really his diagnosis, But the week they told him he only had a few weeks, they'd already planned a trip to LSU because his daughter wanted to go visit LSU. And it wasn't really a school they had considered, but they got down there and loved it. That ended up being the school she chose. And so when she had her signing at the school, you'll see the LSU cake. That's why, because she committed to go to LSU. And I'm glad he got to see that. But here again, so many of the things we worry about in today's world are so unimportant. What do you want people to remember when they think about you and how this went?
That I went out strong.
And by strong, how do you term that? With acceptance and grace?
Yeah. Grace, love, and kindness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I want to love like it's your last day.
Because it is.
Yeah. And I hope that I've touched people's lives.
Well, that you know that you have. I have heard from numerous people that because this scenario, maybe not this specific diagnosis, but this scenario happens to a lot of people more and more all the time, it seems.
Yeah.
And so when you can offer that sort of possibility for people that they can choose grace, how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel more inspired to keep doing it as long as I'm alive.
What do you think at this point has been your purpose?
This.
I would agree.
I mean, I've helped people my whole life. So this is a good thing.
Well, the thing is, you've helped people in so many ways. Being in the medical field, obviously, that's about helping people.
Yeah.
But the emotional side of it and the difficulty accepting and even comprehending that one day you'll be here and one day you won't.
Yeah. And I was inspired by somebody else that was going through breast cancer that was posting her daily deals. That's what made me start doing my daily deals. And I was like, she helped me, with my initial diagnosis. And if I can help one person, it's worth it. And I know I have. So.
Well, and I'm sure you would agree. There's no way someone can know what it feels like unless they're going through it.
Yeah, a group of my friends who are really morbid calls that the expiration date.
Yeah.
When you know your expiration date, you change things.
Yeah. Well, and the sad thing is, we all have one. We just don't know.
Yeah, and I've had people ask me, would you rather have known or not? I would rather know.
Right.
Having been here. Because then I can, tidy things up for my family and have things good for them.
Well, and say what needs to be said.
Yeah. And spend time with family.
Yeah. All of a sudden, important things become important.
Yeah.
And unimportant things go away.
Yeah, pretty much. And the amount of people I've helped just by them coming over and talking to me it's opened doors for them that they were dealing with and didn't realize it until they came and talked to me.
Well, I think there's a lot of truth to the idea that everybody's going through something.
Oh, yeah.
And most people keep it inside. They don't say. They don't ask for help. They don't share it with people. And I think just the people coming to your house and talking to you, there's been so many people open up to you because they feel like, okay, you're going through something too, you're going to get it. Yeah.
And I've had dozens of people come over and help them more than they've helped me. And that's been a blessing for me.
Right. And in some ways, that's the gift, right?
Right. Well, and people are always telling me, I don't want to intrude. It's not intruding.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming over here and both of us getting a blessing out of it.
Right. Because so many people keep everything private and they don't share with people, and then it's too late.
Well, and that's the biggest regret with funeral goers,
Mm-hmm.
is that they didn't have a chance to say goodbye. What most people don't realize is that someone with a terminal illness is going through grief.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, the other family members don't realize that.
Right. They don't understand that they're going through the same stages of trying.
That they're going to go through after that person's gone.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the person dealing with it goes through it first.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it comes in waves.
Mm-hmm.
Just like grief does.
Right, and they'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
When you think you got it handled, it sneaks back up on you.
I don't think you ever have it handled.
No, you don't. It becomes part of you.
Yeah. I don't consider this a bad thing. And that's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I consider this a wake-up call for me. That God had a purpose for me. And this is it.
But thank you all for watching, and if there's anyone in your life that you feel like needs to hear this, please share this video with them, and I'll see you next time.